Now, further to the introductions of new CBN Naira for dollar scheme, which has come into effect since on Monday, March 8, 2021. The Central Bank of Nigeria has said the movement is aimed at providing Nigerians in the diaspora with cheaper and more convenient ways of sending remittances to Nigeria. The CBN Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, stated this while delivering the keynote address to an inaugural diaspora webinar on the implications and impact of the new FX policy on diaspora investment. And the CBN Governor explained that the move was also to increase transparency of remittance inflows and reducing rent-seeking activities. Meanwhile, financial experts have advocated the sustenance of the policy to surpass the $24 billion annual remittance from the diaspora. They believe incentive given by the CBN will act as a catalyst to grow the dollar remittance regime and relieve some pressure on the country's foreign reserves. The policy, which is described as an experimental approach, will open up windows of opportunities in seeking ways to reduce the cost of remittance. And today on the program, we'll have the chairman, Nigerians in Diaspora Association, USA, who is also a global project management and business development expert, Mr. Isaac INYANG. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me here.
All right, first of all, before we dive deeper into the conversation, what's a dollar for the Naira for dollar policy all about? Can we have a broader understanding of what it means?
Well, the foundation for the Naira for dollar policy started in December 2020, when December 8th to be precise, when the CBN decided that remittance into Nigeria would be dollar-based, whereby the Naira account were closed down and forced all the international money transfer organization to pay in dollars, not in Naira. That was the foundation, and then based on that, and that came out because there was drastic plunge in terms of the remittance into Nigeria. So CBN had to take those decisions in order to reassure the Nigerian diaspora that their money will hold value when they get into Nigeria.
Okay, so now with the hope that the Naira will be strengthened, the new policy aims to grow Nigerians' foreign exchange reserve. Do you think that's possible?
Well, it's a pilot program. I am a strong believer that we have to test in order to be able to judge. I think we should give the CBN the benefit of doubt that this is a new program, that they are putting this program in place. At the end, in May 8th, we will be able to see the results. Then we'll be able to ascertain if this program really meets the test.
Now, you see, the policy is supposed to present a win-win situation for all the parties involved. So, Nigerian government, the diasporans, and the Nigerian people, how can you briefly enumerate how this works for each of the parties involved?
Well, I think it's win-win for each of the parties. When you look at the rates, in terms of the remittance into Nigeria in 2020, January it was 2.08 billion that came in through the mainstream system, and when you look in September, it dropped into $554 million. That was a drastic plunge in terms of when you look at the remittance. So CBN had to take a very drastic situation in order to attract remittance into Nigeria. So with that, that's a win point for CBN, because then people will have to send more money, and they are sure that the money will be received, going to the domiciliary account, or it will be given to the recipients in dollars. So that's a win to we in diaspora, and also it's a win to CBN because more money will come into the system.
So, Mr. INYANG, considering the success of other countries that have engaged in this policy, what's the mechanism that you think Nigeria can put in place to actually make this work?
Well, I always think enforcement of the policies of CBN. When we go through the pilot program, we expect that when the CBN is about rolling the actual program, they will ensure that enforcement of that policy, whereby they will hold accountable the International Monetary Transfer Organization to comply also with the Apex Bank, to comply with that policy, because there will be a lot of challenges. There will be a lot of people trying to not to comply. But if CBN can stay on that message, I think we will probably come up with a successful story on that.
Okay, so if to add to that, I'm sure there are some specific kind of mechanism that can actually be put in place to checkmate the activities.
Well, right now, I don't think they have that in place. But I will think, like I'm a strong believer, that CBN needs to integrate the diaspora in this policy. 47 international monetary transfer organizations were licensed. I want to see how many diasporas are in that 47. The Nigerian government needs to try to attract us. We need to be part of the solutions. They cannot isolate us. If there is 47, how many diasporas? I, as the chairman of from the board of director, USA, NIDOA, I have no clue how many of my members are in that 47. I think those are when we think we have a very good policy.
Okay, so now let's feel the pulse of the people you just returned. How are they welcoming this development?
I think,
as a chairman,
I think the diasporas are welcoming the policy, because for the first time we can send money and we get it in dollars. And also there is what we call the dividends of 5 Naira for $1, which is, if you look at the equivalent, it's about 13% on $1, which means a lot of great returns. That is 13 cents. For $1 that you send, CBN is giving you 13 cents. That's the 5 Naira. So I think it's a welcome idea, and I think I strongly recommend that diasporas should take advantage of that program, especially during this pilot program.
Do you think that the policy is sustainable, seeing that CBN's target is to centralize the system and cut off all unofficial channels?
Well, I think the problem there, when you look at the digital services, the digital services will probably create a lot of threats to what CBN is about doing. Because when you look at sending money through the digital services, there's almost the charges are almost zero. And also they use the app to be able to send that money. It's real time. You get that money in there real time. When you look at it, for the past few months, digital services have gained over 20 to 30% market share. And that's very significant. So if we look at the future, I think there's a threat to the policy. I know the CBN has put in place to enforce the law to reduce the activities of the digital services. But I don't think that will take so long.
Talking about digital services, there have been issues around cryptocurrency, Bitcoin and all that, how it's been used to perpetrate all form of crimes. What's your perception about that?
Well, I will go back to one of the speech of our former Minister of Finance, Ngozi.
Yeah.
She stated it, you cannot hold technology. Technology is moving, you have to move with the technology. So I find it very difficult to say you can stop the moving target. This is a moving target. We need to develop a policy to be able to accommodate that technology into our system, because it has come to stay.
I like the fact that you say it has come to stay, but what are the kind of technologies that can be put in place to actually regulate transactions around digital assets?
Well, the problem is that it's a global problem. So I personally do not have the expertise in that area, but I think it's a global problem which the global environment are looking into it. But I think Nigeria needs to make sure that their policy is aligned with what the global policy will look like, so that we don't get left behind. When we're supposed to be on the table, we are still behind. So we should make sure that we study the global policy around the digital services and make sure that we align our policy towards that. I believe strongly that the money should come in. We should boost our foreign exchange. But the question comes in, what will the government use this money for? I think, like I strongly believe, we should invest in our infrastructure, health, roads, road, education, and also invest in our people. Look at the rate of unemployment, 33%. It's alarming. Look at the inflation, 17.3. It's alarming. So I expect that the government will be able to use this remittance in order to help to stabilize, to build the economy, not to repatriate it out of the country, but use it in order to develop the country. We in diaspora are ready to invest in Nigeria, and I always say this, that once we are called upon, we will answer to that call. But the government needs to be genuine, have to put in place a very good policy for the diaspora in order to attract the diaspora to invest in Nigeria. The foreign direct investment has to be driven by the diaspora policy. The Nigerian NIDOA-USA is embarking on a project in Lagos called Caribbean Village. We will be embarking, asking Nigerian diaspora to invest, buying lands and building their retirement home, their vacation home in that area. I think those will be part of what we will use this remittance to do.
Thank you very much for your expertise. We're glad to have you in the studio to speak on the matter. Rising. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me, Comfort. Look forward to coming back again next
Hopefully.
time. Okay.
All right. We'll be speaking with the Chairman, Nigerians and Diaspora Association USA, who is also a global projects management and business development expert, Mr. Isaac INYANG. Thank you very much for your expertise there. I'm sure the guide will help a long way. That's a portfolio for this week. Next week promise to be more informative if you keep a date with us. I'm Comfort Amadu. Do have yourself a great week. And remember, coronavirus is still out there. Observe the non-pharmaceutical measures and take the vaccine. See you next week.